Now comes the updation part, right? We have to update the account class to use list of transaction instead of the transaction array. When we used a transaction array to maintain our passbook, instead of that, we'll find it's much easier and much better to use a list instead of the array here. Okay, fine. So we'll update. Fine. Let's see how it is to be updated. Okay, so changes needed. Yeah, what are the changes? Oh, we added those two things. Fine, for using the transaction class. Okay, and we might comment them out. Okay, both the things not needed, right? That index was only to keep track in the array. So now see, instead of those two things, we just have to say private list of transaction. Okay, equals new. Acha, oh, we need to know the class which implements the list interface. See, when we have to say new, that's an list is interface, right? So we need to have knowledge of the class which implements a list interface. There is a class, there are two common classes which are used, but anyway, the most commonly used one is the class called ArrayList. Okay, we have the class called ArrayList. ArrayList of what? It's again a generic class, so we'll have to say ArrayList of transaction. Okay, now since I'm creating on the left hand side, I've already mentioned the type to which I'm assigning is of type list of transaction. Fine, the type parameter can be inferred by the compiler and we can write it like this. Okay, we call it as a diamond operator. This is from Java 7 onwards. Okay, Generics was Java 5, but from 7 onwards, I said when you write a constructor, wherever possible, right, wherever it can be derived from the left hand side, from the context where you are creating it, then you can use a, need not be specifying the type explicitly here. Okay, so this is the first change. Okay, we are using a list instead of array. The object to be created is the object of array list. Okay, fine. Let's look at the other changes then. Oh, we have this for loop. So we can comment out these two lines. Instead of those two lines, we may just simply put a for each transaction T in this dot passbook. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. See, we had to fetch that from the array, keep it, and we had to use that up to next index position, right? So we don't need that, right? We can for each. Yeah, it's a for, it's iterable. We have the for each. Okay, clear? Okay, so then coming to the constructor. The constructor is the other person who is using the transaction class, who's updating in the list. So transaction, yeah, the constructor for transaction. Here, what have we done? This part, all this, right? So that we can make an entry in the array. Yeah. This is to make an entry in the array. Okay.
Can you just show the change before this change? The for loop one which we
Acha, the for loop?
for each one.
Yeah, okay. This is the for each. It's in the print passbook, this one.
Okay, so instead of int I and all, we did for each user.
For each user.
For transaction type T, key of type transaction, we did it through
Yeah.
this dot class.
Right. We were, I kept that, we had that variable transaction T equal to passbook of I. Okay, fine, picking up that as a transaction T, so we could use, and that's a variable which I've used here also, right? So it becomes same. Okay, for each transaction T, and this comes from here. Fine, it looks much simpler now, right? For each transaction T in this dot passbook, and then printing it using the printf for that. Okay, fine. Coming back to the place, the construct of transaction. Yeah, we have commented this out. Fine. This was, see, this entire thing was to make an entry in the array, to make an entry in the passbook. Okay, account this dot passbook dot add this. Simple. Okay, and then of course updating the balance, that doesn't change anyway. Yeah, and no other place, there's no other change. Okay, the passbook was not used anywhere else. Print passbook and inside the constructor of the transaction class. No other place we are touching the passbook. Fine. Now someone asked for returning. Okay, let's have a method where someone can say, okay, let's have a public method. Let's add one more method here to return a list of transaction. Get passbook. Yeah, what's the code for this now? Yeah, this dot passbook. Okay, so we have to use a copy of list dot copy of. Okay, not account, sorry, it will be copy of this dot passbook, and the return statement is missing here. Yeah. Okay, so that's what should be done. And clear? Okay, so with this change, yeah, there won't be any effect which we can see here. Changes which we have made are on the in a manner that, yes, it's not affecting anything else, right? The account class only is changed, but no other updation anywhere else is needed. Okay, it's internal to the account. Account was using array, instead of that it has now started using the list. Okay, fine. Methods point of view, okay, we just added one additional method called get passbook, fine, to for someone to be getting a list of transactions if required, right? But that's a copy which is unmodifiable. So if someone says get passbook dot add or anything, no, he won't be able to add or do any operation on the he won't be able to do any, no operation available except for getting the things. Okay, so someone can always say account dot get passbook dot okay, maybe he uses it in a for each loop. I want to iterate over all of them. Okay, you can. Right? So even outside the account class, someone will be able to. So here we have used printing of passbook. Someone wants to do some other thing. Yes, he can do that, and he can still be using it. He'll get access to the transactions. but he won't be able to modify the list. Okay. Yeah, so we can test it out. Fine. Let's. Oh, we forgot one thing in the import. The main is fine. Main is not affected. List and array list. And we have used this from the java.util package. So we need to have the import for them. Okay. Let's compile and run the code. Okay, so that's compiling. And this should still run with the same results. Okay, and there's no change in the output. Right? Okay. Fine, so clear? See what we have seen. So today what we have seen is, we have seen the
Yes, sir, clear.
yeah, okay. Fine, so we have seen the set. Right. Initially we saw about the set has unique elements, and that was one thing. Then we saw about the list, methods of the list, and the map interfaces. Fine. Yeah, so any other questions? Yeah, anyone has questions?
No, sir. No.
Okay, fine. Then, fine. So then we'll meet tomorrow, and tomorrow we should be looking at. Fine. We'd like to. Okay, let's define the class called bank. Fine, tomorrow. So think about what kind of operations we should have on a bank. And so with bank, we should be able to use a map. Okay, fine. So tomorrow, yes, we'll have some demo on the defining a bank class. Maybe there might be some enums which will be created again, a few more enums. Okay.